Welcome to Paint Radio with your hosts, Andrew Dwyer and Kevin Hoffman.
Heck yeah, let's do a podcast. Paint Radio, the APC podcast. We love our podcast. Kevin, literally 15 minutes ago, I was in the dental chair getting a filling. I walked in the house 10 minutes ago, and this is look at that. I look like I'm having a stroke. But there's nothing funny about strokes, people. But this is definitely dripping a little bit. I can feel it. So, our listeners care about us just like we care about them. So it wouldn't shock me. In fact, I'd be disgusted if it didn't happen. If someone didn't call in and say, I'm worried, Andrew seems worse than normal. Could he be having a stroke? That would be very nice of people to care like that. But in this case, no, it's just remnants of, holy cow. You can really feel it there. When was the last time you had a filling, Kevin?
Oh boy, it's about a year or two. I find that I'm getting more of them as I get older.
So I made the reference to you about the Seinfeld episode where Kramer appears to be a special needs person and is treated as the guest of honor at some banquet. Do you remember that episode?
Sure.
My dentist, who is my age, made the exact same reference because I told her at the beginning, I said, hey, I've got a podcast after this. Not that I'm encouraging you to go light on the painkiller, not at all, but just FYI, I've got somewhere to be. I've got stuff to do. And she said, yeah, you don't want to be like Kramer on that episode of Seinfeld. So it's a universal language, at least among people who are 40 and up. But we're not talking about drooling today, though it may happen. We're not talking about Seinfeld today. We're talking about Google reviews. Do you look at Google reviews or Yelp reviews or any other reviews, Kevin, when you are about to buy something or go somewhere?
I hate to say it because I feel like a sheep, but I almost exclusively use Google reviews, like whether it's a 4.5 or 5-star rating. I also do it on Amazon where there's 100 similar products and I just look at the one that's got the most and the best reviews.
Wow. Okay, so if reviews are that important, do you leave a bad review if you think you've received bad service or a bad product?
That's a very good question. Generally I don't, and I don't for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I don't want to be discoverable. I don't want people to find everything that I've ever bought and everything I've ever reviewed. And also, I worry that if you do leave a negative review, that might affect other people's willingness to work for you as a contractor. But I did leave one bad review in my whole life, and it was when my ceiling fell in San Diego due to the roofing crew not putting shingles on before a major storm. So lost most of my possessions. Luckily, I had renter's insurance, but they got a negative review, and most importantly, there's a lot of photos of the damage.
So, and I'm the exact same way, I guess slightly different reasons, right? I don't want to be judged by my worst moment. But when you're when your business is providing a product or a service and you do it poorly, how am I supposed to know if this is your worst moment or this is what you do? And so we do have to warn the next person that maybe this. But I try to avoid just hammering in the 1-star. I think I try to go 3 at the worst, unless it's really bad. And I probably only have left 3 or 4 bad reviews. But we are all perhaps overly reliant on reviews. But we're not here to talk about the dark side of reviews. We're here to talk about the upside and the bright side of reviews. And there's no one better than Chris Kiefer of Boolean. He is interesting for a variety of reasons, but especially not only does he have a ton of experience in tech, he also has experience in painting, which is tremendous. So Chris Kiefer of Boolean, website is helloboolean.com. Boolean is BOOLEAN.com. Also has a website of chriskiefer.com. Kiefer is KIEFER.com. So chriskiefer.com or helloboolean.com. Chris, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. You're the right guy for the job, and so we're so glad that you took the time to join us. Give us a little bit of background of both your tech experience and also your painting experience.
Yeah, so I'm an engineer by education. I got an engineering science degree from the small little school, Carroll College in Helena, Montana. And I took that engineering knowledge and left the engineering field 6 months after my first job and started a marketing company. And so I did marketing for small businesses for 6 years. And any small business knows that reviews are huge. And so we worked with dentists, restaurants, electricians, plumbers, anything that serves a local region or a radius around their business. That's what we did for 6 years. And then I had this cool opportunity come up to join a growing painting company. And it was in the middle of our marketing company business I kind of turned everybody into contractors, all of our employees. And we were doing gig work. So some people had different passions and stuff. So I took the opportunity to jump on board with this amazing, fast growing company, Webfoot. And while I was there, we grew from about 9 million to 20 million in revenue over the course of 3 years, and expanded into 5 other markets. And I was the in-house marketing director. The thing that I loved about it was I got to take all my knowledge running independent marketing agency and pull it into one business. And then I essentially ran a mini agency inside of that painting company. So we had our own, content people, videographer, copywriter, an ads person. And then we were just, doing the best marketing that we could for one company, which was a huge relief. If anyone has ever worked in the agency world, it's really stressful to have 15, 20 different clients that are all asking you for things. And so when I got the opportunity to come in to Webfoot, just being able to pour every waking moment of your day into one brand and actually do all of the projects that you want to do was really exciting.
And so now Boolean, tell me what Boolean does. Who does Boolean help? What type of help do you provide?
Yeah, so Boolean, there's 2 services. One is reviews, which we'll come back to in a minute. And then the other one is automation consulting. So while I was at Webfoot, one of the things that I did was I heavily automated the data in the business. And it was really driven by the need to get better marketing data to make decisions on where we're going to spend our marketing budget. So when you're, a large company like that has significant, a 1% increase in spend is a huge amount of money. And so every little thing that we could pull in to give us better data to react faster was critical. So I learned a lot about the processes and not just in marketing, but from the lead coming in all the way to invoicing and job costing. And I worked really hard to automate that. And then there was a number of people through peer groups that I was in that started inquiring about me assisting with doing those automation services for them. And about 2 years ago, after a transition period, I went out on my own and then started that automation consulting piece. We now have 8 employees that are focused on the automation side, that are developers. We could do some pretty intense, crazy stuff there, but that's our consulting and automation services. We only work with painting companies, and $4 to $7 million painting companies are the target size for that. And then like I said, the first service I mentioned is the reviews, and that product, the Boolean review software, was created I actually made it for the dental clients that we serviced prior to me coming in as marketing director at this painting company. And I evolved it and tweaked it to the exact, specs that I wanted as a marketing director of a growing painting company. And while I was at Webfoot, Webfoot became the highest rated painting company in the entire country from this software. And I always clarify, like, they were, $10 million painting company at the time, a lot of job volume, but they had 67 Google reviews in the beginning and 67 Google reviews after 15 years in business. And then, jump ahead 2.5 years later and they had over 900. Now they got over 1,000 and they're just, fantastic, well-run company. But I think that's the problem that a lot of painting companies or owners get frustrated by, is that they know they have a good business. They know that they care and they're delivering on their promises to clients, but their Google reviews don't reflect that. They're not dominating their market because they don't have a system and a process in place to capture those happy customer, feedback.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Behr. Behr paint helps save time and money. From paint formulated to help you get great coverage, hide, and a smooth uniform finish, to free job site delivery, preferred pricing for pros, and the lowest price per gallon on Behr paint, guaranteed only at the Home Depot. Behr is committed to help you finish every job efficiently so you can move on to the next one. For more information, go to behr.com/pro.
Chris, great to see you again. For those at home who may be listening or watching, Chris actually has a column in the September issue of APC Magazine. So I learned a lot working with him on that. And so I want to really dive into the nitty gritty. Chris, I think you would agree that Google Business Profile is foundational, and you really can't take these more advanced steps until you got that in order. I wonder if you could kind of tell the audience, what are the key things to look for in the Google profile? What are the things that could, potentially damage your business if you don't do it right?
Yeah. First thing I would say is, now more than ever, just with the economy and where it's at, where it's headed, the worry that many home service businesses have, if we're already in a recession, or if we're about to be in a recession, or maybe it's delayed, I don't know. But what I do know is that when the economy shrinks, the importance of being at the top of whatever vertical you are servicing is exponentially higher than when we're in a, flush with cash and everyone's spending money. And the best, an example of this would be, back in 2008, there were more millionaires created in that 1 to 2 year window than at any other time, because everything is concentrated. And someone gave me a good example of, when the economy is doing well and I've got some extra spending money, my family might go out to eat, 5 times, 7 times a month. But if the economy is struggling, I don't have as much, extra funds, I might only go out to eat 2 times a month. But I'm going to spend more in those 2 times that I go out to eat than I do in the 5 to 7 times when things are going great. When that means that instead of 5 or 7 businesses getting a portion of that, there's a, concentration of the spending going to the top tier people. So back to your question, Kevin, of why this is so critical, Google rankings, and in particular the local map pack, is essential at any time. You should be caring about this, but I feel like, preparing for a recession is, you have to understand that people are going to be more picky with their dollars when they're heading into a recession. So the quantity of Google reviews that you have, the frequency in which you're getting those reviews, the respond rate of the reviews that you have. Do you have photos on there? Do you have your services listed? Like, those are all things that are going to impact your ranking. And it's, the people that are at the top are going to have a much, much easier time in the next 3 to 5 years than the ones that are, good, have a good rating, but they're not dominating in their space.
Chris, you mentioned the local map pack. What is that?
So that's on Google Maps. When you search, Google will, if it detects that your intent behind your search is to find a local business or service, instead of showing you just text, pages, it will show you 3 businesses. And usually there's one additional one that's an ad at the top. So there's 4 total, but one of them's paid and the other 3 are organic. So those 3 organic is what they call the map pack. or sometimes they call it the 3-pack. And those are the 3 highest ranked businesses for the particular search term that you're searching for.
And you mentioned ranking. I understand there's a couple different factors that go into that ranking, including proximity and all that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about that, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I would say the easiest acronym that I've heard for online reviews, or just like what affects ranking, is the 5 R's, I call them, and that's rating, the relevance, which is the keywords in your review matching the person that's searching. The radius is the proximity to your business that these reviews are like being left, so Google knows where we're located. And if the searcher is near someone else that has left a positive review, that has another impact. So rating, relevance, radius, recency is, are they coming in, every week, or is the last time you got a review 6 months ago? And then the last one is responding. So making sure that you're actually responding to those reviews. But I would say those are the 5 R's that are kind of like very, very simple. There's you can go, unpack those deeply, but at the end of the day, it's like get a lot of good ratings, make sure those reviews are relevant. 5 stars is great, but you want review content that supports what other people are searching. And then radius, recency, and responding.
You talk about responding. I've noticed more than a few companies literally paste the exact same response to every review. Is that as embarrassing as I think it is, or is that actually okay?
I would not do that. I would say it looks bad to customers, but more than that, I would say you have to be thinking about everything in return in terms of like, what is Google trying to do? And it's like, if you're just copying and pasting, thanks, John, thanks, Steven, thanks, Sarah. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you might as well not say anything,
Actually, that would be better than, thanks, John. It's so important that we hear that we are doing a good job for our customers, because nothing's more important than customers. And you say that exact same thing every time. It's absurd. Kevin and I talked about bad reviews. How damaging is a bad review? And assuming it does have a negative effect, what can painting contractors do to limit the damage?
Yeah, so I heard, at the beginning you were talking about, have you ever left a bad review, Kevin? And you said no, or one time. I don't know if for any of you that use Google frequently, in the nerds out there will appreciate this, but I'm actually a level 7 local guide on Google, which is a gamified point system that Google has. So the more photos you post, the more questions you answer, the more reviews you leave, like the more points you get. So I leave reviews for businesses all the time. And 90% of them are positive because I have great experiences and I want people to know, like, hey, this ice cream place is awesome, or this pizza was amazing. Speaking of golfing, just 3 weeks ago, I was at a golf course in Boise, Idaho, River Birch Golf Course. If you're listening, hopefully they still haven't responded to my review, but we went out, my foursome, and we're out. We had dinner plans later in the evening, and I can't remember what time we started, but the front 9 took over 2.5 hours, and it's because they packed the schedule too tight. It's like, so we came back to the clubhouse and we said, hey, we're going to miss our dinner plans. Can we just get a rain check for like the second 9 or something? Can you give us a driving range pass? Cause we're going to waste $40 not getting to golf the back 9. And they were absolutely uninterested in any sort of like, assisting us out at all. And it's like, you guys scheduled the timing like this. If just like do something for your customers. And they were like, nope, sorry, that's our policy. And I was like, this is crazy. So I went on and left them a 1-star review. And if you read it, it's very like, I'm not being mean. I just want the owner of the golf course to know that I don't think that that's good customer service, and they should do something about that. And I even said like they could give some sort of compensation for that. They literally gave nothing and were like, yeah, sorry. And so to me, if the owner had replied and said, hey, which this is what I would do if I was the owner of the golf course, hey, Chris, I'm so sorry you had this experience. Because of this, we've changed our policies and we've talked to our team. We've come up with a plan. Please reach out to me. Here's my email, and we'll make sure we make this right. And then I would come in, and because I liked the golf course, and it's not like everything else was terrible. I even put in my bad review, like the greens are awesome, all this other stuff, but change your policies. Like, this is just ridiculous. And so to me, bad reviews is it's like a beautiful invention to get a direct line to the person at the top, to just say, hey, I want to make sure that you get feedback directly from your customer that said, this is the issue that I had, and this is what I would suggest. I thought you'd like to know. Because how many people did it take 2.5 hours and then they were like, I'm never coming back there, and they didn't say anything, So to me, the bad reviews, like flipping it back to painting, I look at bad reviews as an opportunity every time. It's like, yes, there could be someone that's just crabby and they're mad that you're expensive or whatever, but that's fantastic. Like, I would love, like, make sure that every other customer that comes to knows that you are not cheap, right? Like, but did you notice that we have 700 other 5-star reviews from people that enjoy and appreciate the customer service and attention to detail that we have? So all that being said, when you get a bad review, my recommendation to people is, first of all, respond right away. Immediately, just like, you should have a system in place to get in touch with that customer, especially at painting companies. Like, we know their contact information. At a golf course, you'd have to do something where it's like, hey, reach out to me and we'll make this right. In a painting company, when, Sarah Jones leaves a bad review, you could probably go back and find Sarah Jones's number, and that owner should be calling Sarah to find out what happened and get more information and try and solve that. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, when you do that, you will be blown away at how many customers were, just like I said, they just wanted somebody to hear them out and understand their frustration and make it right. And then they're usually, let's say 70, 80% of the time, they will go back and update that review and say, this was amazing. Within, 3 hours of me reaching out and saying I had a problem, the supervisor was at my house. I talked to the owner of the business. They came out, they apologized. They did this, and they fixed the paint splatter on my front door, or whatever the thing is. But that's what people are after. And then there's obviously the crazy ones, but the crazy ones are so rare. And also, I would say, you can, as a consumer, you can see when someone's left a review that it's like, there's typos. They're just like venting. It's like, man, they must have had a really bad day. I wonder who said something mean to them, at work, and this is affecting the rest of their life. You know what I mean? And so, as a consumer, when you see the crazy ones, we kind of filter those out and we weigh them with, like, okay, this person sounds like they don't really have a good read on life in general, but the other 600 positive reviews outweigh this one person who says it's crazy. Does that make sense?
This is brought to you by Hyde Tools and their extensive line of abrasives designed for everything from rough wooden surfaces to your final skim coat of joint compound. Want a versatile and economical abrasive that's ready for any surface? Hyde's 9-inch aluminum oxide sanding discs are designed specifically for their 9-inch radial sander head, which covers a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Got a drywall job? Hyde sanding screens are economical and reusable. Just rinse and repeat, or upgrade to Hyde's net abrasives, which last up to 5 times longer than traditional sandpaper. They won't clog up, and they're available in the standard 9 by 3-inch rectangle or the circular 9-inch radial shape. Don't forget about Hyde sanding sponges, their 5-inch palm sander discs, and Hyde's radial duster. And now you can even buy direct from Hyde on their website. So go to hydetools.com to see the full lineup of abrasives.
Makes sense.
No, that's a great point. The positive reviews in quantity can overwhelm the outlying 1 or 2 bad reviews and push it down. So let's talk about that other end of the seesaw. How do you get good reviews? What are the techniques to get customers to give you good reviews and to really call out the services that will help you rank in Google?
Yep. Well, I would say that one of my mantras is people and processes scale businesses. So technology doesn't scale businesses. Strategy, whatever, like at the end of the day, you need to have processes and systems for every single aspect of your business. And then you need to have people that manage those processes. And the same goes for reviews. And so it's like, if you are having a problem collecting payment and your cash is tight and you've got, a ton of money in your receivables, you probably don't have a really good, accounts receivable process, or like we invoice and if you talk to the companies that are dialed in on receiving payment, it's like a science. The crew leader shows up on day one and says, "Hey, I want to let you know this. We think this is going to take about 4 days. At the end of the day, at the end of the job on the last day, we're going to do a walkthrough. If everything looks good, I'm going to give you the invoice, same one here. If there's any change orders, we'll add that to it. But this is what we think the invoice total is going to be, assuming there is no change orders. And I'll be collecting a check on that last day. So if you could have that prepared, make it out to, booleanpainting.com or whatever. And like you're prepping them. And then the next day, like, hey, I'm going to be coming by to get that check tomorrow. So make sure you have that. And then on the last day, it's like, hey, everything looks good. Can you sign here? And do you have that check for me? Boom. And like that is, I have a client and that's their process. And they have like an average payment day of like 6 days. Cause occasionally they have one that's, takes a long time, but some businesses are like 30, 40 days on collecting payment. And I bet you it's because they don't have systems and processes. So with reviews, same exact thing. What's your system and what's your process? Because if you don't have one, the chance that your people are following the same thing or doing what you want them to do when it comes to online reviews is very low. After you have a system, then I would go to how could you automate that? Same thing like with payments and invoicing and whatnot. It's one thing to have all these manual steps listed out and have someone do it. But even with written out processes, if a person is doing every single step, we make mistakes all the time. We're going to be like 90%, 80% compliant with those because we get busy, things are stressful, whatever. But computers, they do the same thing every time. They never miss a step. They run every single step in that process for every single project, every single time. And so I would say, make the process first, identify what it is that you want to have happen, and then automate as much of it as you can, and then fit your people in, to add that personal human touch that we all appreciate.
Chris, I'm sure you encounter people who are anti-establishment and anti-Big Brother, and they're like, man, I'm not going to jump through no hoops. I ain't playing the Google game. What is your advice to them? Because, of course, we can all do what we want, but our actions have consequences. I'm guessing that you would say that, yeah, you don't have to play with Google if you don't want to, but just be aware that there's a consequence and a lot of customers are not going to see you. What is your response to people who think Google is entirely too powerful?
And you're saying the business owner, not the client that refuses to leave a review?
Correct. Sorry, the business owner.
Yeah. I mean, I would say you have to make a decision. Like, where are all the eyeballs? Where are people hanging out? That's what running a business and marketing and everything is like. It would be the equivalent of like, I'm going to put up a billboard, but I don't really like, the fact that everybody that drives down the interstate, I don't know, come up with a reason. So I'm not going to put it over there where everyone's driving. I'm going to put it out in the countryside in this beautiful landscape because I just like the feeling of what this farmer's doing better than the corporation that's running the billboards or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Genius.
Okay, go ahead, move your sign there, but the eyeballs are driving down the highway and it's 1,000 times more, impressions per hour than you would get out in the country. And so I would say it's the same type of thing of like, you'd have to have, it's a different conversation in my opinion. Is Google too powerful? Probably. What are you going to do about it? And is you like, if you think that you can run your business and scale without Google, I mean, good luck. It's just it's a huge beast, and I don't like we would get at I mean, not just at web, but most of our clients get like 50 to 60% of their leads from Google. And these are like, we're doing 60, 70 leads a week. And a huge portion of them are coming from Google. So it's like, I just don't know why someone could, or how you could ignore it and think that you could scale.
So, I mean, it's Google's world and we're just playing in it or selling services in it. Thanks so much. You've given us a lot of information, a lot of technical information. For someone who's listening, who may not be as knowledgeable or looking to get started, what are like the top 3 takeaways that they should wake up and do tomorrow to really get their Google game straight?
Yeah. So I would say there have been SEO people that have made the case that nowadays a website is far, far less important than a really good Google profile. And the evidence of that would be, the number of times that you go to a restaurant or to a store or to any business and you just look at their profile, you see a bunch of positive reviews, you skim their services, look at the photos, looks like a nice venue, place, whatever, and you just go. You don't we don't look at websites, and you might research a website. Like, let's say what I think happens most often is that when I'm trying to get a quote, I'm going to find the 3 highest rated people. I'm going to call each one of them, set up a time. And then after I get it, if I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons of one or the other, maybe I do a little bit more research. But generally, Google reviews speak 100 times louder than a beautifully designed website. So I would say spend your energy, or an outweighed portion of your energy, towards getting really good photos, getting really good reviews, and responding to those reviews, and then making sure that you're getting them regularly. So that's like my advice there. How do you do that? Is, like I said, create a process and then automate as much of it as you can. And one of the things, because of this, that I've done is, for those of you that either are, wanting to do stuff on your own, I've made videos on the automation YouTube channel that I run called Boolean Automation, on how you can automate your review process and just DIY steps using tools like Zapier. And it's like, it'll get you started. It's going to be far better than nothing. But the other thing, if you're really wanting to crush Google, like not just get reviews, but dominate and be number 1 in your market, those are the clients that we look for and that we work with, because there are many, many reputation management softwares out there. They're not specialized in the painting industry. And so our software is literally so it's automated, but also personalized, because we have deep integrations to all the popular CRMs and project management tools that painters use. So our review requests are far more personalized, and because of that, they have a much higher response rate from customers, because it doesn't look like spam. It looks like, Tommy, your lead painter, was actually requesting that you leave a review for him. So anyways, that would be my advice, is, especially given everything that I talked about with the economy and where things are heading, there is nothing that will have a bigger positive impact on your business than dominating your local search for specific services. And the last thing I'll say is, let's say that you have a big, monstrous painting company in town that's beating you, and they've got 500 reviews and you only have 15. The good news is, you can still outrank that painting company on specific painting services without having more reviews than them. And what I mean by that is, if you are really good at cabinet painting, for example, and you're really pushing and encouraging your clients to talk about cabinet painting in their reviews, that's a way higher relevance score. And I have seen time and time again, businesses that have really good content in their reviews from customers rank better than the one that just has 500, reviews with not much that the customers are saying below. And you might say, well, how do I get my customers to say more? And I would say, I mean, a couple things you can prompt them and explain, like, hey, if you could mention this in your review, we'd appreciate it, things like that. But what we've done at Boolean is we actually have AI writing drafts of the review that customer could leave for you and sending it to them so that they can edit, make any adjustments, copy and paste it into Google. So technology is coming along rapidly, and there's so much that can be done to make the content that the people are leaving about your business richer and have more context and useful, like SEO, than say you can with just a generic tool that is going to just focus on getting you a lot of reviews, but not really good quality.
Man, Chris Kiefer, we knew you were and are the right guy for the job. I think sometimes it's easier, understandable to focus on how big a topic can be, such as how do I improve my presence online? And some people are intimidated by the mammoth size of that job. You don't need to be, you just need to find some resources. Paintmag.com, obviously a resource. Chris Kiefer, clearly a resource. Go to helloboolean.com. Again, Boolean is BOOLEAN.com. Helloboolean.com. He said he's got some videos there, a ton more information. This could have been a 3-hour podcast. We work hard to keep it shorter, to give you a taste, and then when you've got time, go learn some more. Chris, thanks so much for being on the podcast, man. Tremendous information.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
And hopefully you can't tell, but man, this entire side of my face, maybe, and I'm not joking about stroke, maybe this is what it feels like to have a stroke. And hopefully it has not been too evident during this podcast, but it is. I have to take drinks carefully, Kevin, out of this side, because I think I am on the edge of drooling. So, kindred spirits, that's what we are at APC. Go to paintmag.com. So many resources on running a better business that will lead to more happiness. We love what we do. We know you love what you do. Let's do it better and have more fun. Go to paintmag.com. Thanks and of course, see Chris's column, as Kevin mentioned, in the September issue. And if you're like, hey, I don't get APC Magazine, I could unload and criticize you, but I won't. I'm going to meet you with a hug and say, go to paintmag.com. Subscribe to this free magazine all about running a better painting business. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.